Welcome to Empowered Transformation with your host, Christa Dawson. Over the next hour, you will learn about tools that will support your healing process and living a life full of purpose and joy. Now, here is Christa.
Hello, and thank you for joining me for episode 3 of Empowered Transformation. Today, we're going to hear an amazing transformation story. I will be introducing you to our guest here shortly, but before we go any further, I want to take a moment to get intentional, to drop in, to ground in a bit. And so I'm going to invite you, we're going to go through a very simple sequence and know that there are multiple tools in this simple sequence. You don't have to use all of them at once. You can use them one at a time, and they're just powerful, powerful tools. So I'm going to invite you, first of all, to tune into your posture. Know that you're doing energy work all the time, and the simplest adjustments, even in how you're standing, can help to adjust and balance your energy. So aligning your head over your shoulders with your chin parallel with the floor, maybe even a little bit tucked. Imagining a string attached to the back of your head, gently pulling up on the back of your head, elongating your neck, inviting your shoulders gently back and down and stacking them over your hips. If you're sitting, that's great. If you're standing, that's great. These are things you can do with your eyes closed or open. You can do them anywhere. So tuning into your posture, putting a gentle smile on your face. A smile activates all kinds of healing in your body. And this next tool is so simple and so powerful. And I'm going to invite you to rest your tongue on the floor of your mouth. As you rest your tongue on the floor of your mouth, you are helping to balance your autonomic nervous system by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the brake. Most of us are operating with the gas pedal to the floor. So activate that parasympathetic nervous system by resting your tongue on the floor of your mouth. You can do this anywhere at any time, and it invites so much calm and balance. And as you continue to allow your tongue to completely rest in your mouth, notice you may feel it on the sides of your teeth. You may feel it on the roof of your mouth. It's okay. What's most important is that your tongue is completely relaxed. Gentle smile, bringing your awareness into your body. I'm just going to share my intentions for this next hour. My intention and my hope for you is that you take away something new, that you learn something new, that you learn a new tool and add a tool to your arsenal. And that you leave this hour feeling inspired, feeling hopeful, and most importantly, feeling compassion toward yourself. Learning more, as you learn more about all the aspects of the healing process and all the aspects of you, your body, your mind, your energy body, your emotional body, all deserving of your compassion and kindness. And I'm going to have you now take in this intention and add whatever you'd like to this intention as we inhale through the nose, breathing in this intention. And a long, slow exhale out your mouth. Give yourself permission to arrive. Welcome. All right. So it is my absolute honor to welcome my guest today. I encountered our guest first at a workshop with Dawson Church. I was dialoguing with him at the end of the workshop about getting certified and what I needed to do. And he told me to put myself in contact with Jackie Viramontez, who we have as our guest today. She was my mentor as I was going through the certification process at EFT Universe, and she is now a trainer for EFT International. She is a master level EFT practitioner and trainer for EFT International. She is a Reiki Master and an author. And she has an amazing story of transformation. A person who struggled deeply with paralyzing anxiety, OCD, depression, and I'm sure she will add more, PTSD. So I'm really excited to hear more about her story and how she is where she is now. And I'm pretty sure where she is now is not ever where she would have imagined herself when she was in the trenches with her anxiety and OCD. So without further ado, I welcome Jackie Viramontez.
Thank you so much. I feel like it's full circle, Christa. But yes, many things on the list that I've had to transform. One being talking publicly would have been a nightmare. So not anymore. So thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. So I'd like to begin our hour here with you setting the stage for us. Go back, go to the way back and tell us what life was like for Jackie. And I'm sure we'll go through many layers of this. So take us to the way back.
We can go way, way back to the way back suburban in New Jersey, central New Jersey. Yeah. So, from me mentoring you and from taking some of my workshops, my story, but I'm really someone who believes that if you have anxiety, you have depression, OCD, which are all things that I was clinically diagnosed with, that it doesn't have to be a life sentence. And as I shared with you, I know that because it felt like a life sentence as a kid. So just to throw people straight into my story, when I was 5 years old, I had one of the most significant life events, which was losing my brother. My brother was in an accident, and it was one of my first memories was watching that death. I can go into detail, but I won't right now. But his death and seeing that and what it did to what I say, little Jackie's body, is it set me up to have severe anxiety. I developed within a few years severe OCD patterns. So for me, OCD and anxiety was not just some diagnosis. There was a clear cause and effect. Like I was a happy little bubbly girl. And then after my brother's death, all these awful symptoms came from spending 30 minutes washing my face every time, to going up and down steps, to having like debilitating social anxieties and phobias. And I knew there was a before and after. There's a reason. So I always saw those diagnoses as a symptom of trauma. And that's why, I shared with you, it's PTSD. For me, anxiety, depression was always PTSD. And now in my work with others, I really believe that we can trace back those symptoms and even diagnoses, if I'm allowed to say that, back to when they began. And usually there's an instigating event. So a huge part of my childhood from 5 to I'd say 16 was my family trying to find solutions, holistic solutions that would inevitably help me overcome those symptoms and kind of find my authentic, peaceful, calm self again. But it took decades.
Wow.
And one layer at a time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jackie, you're a twin. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm an identical twin sister. And we had our older brother. So that's fascinating as well.
Yeah. So we're in this event where you, was your sister there, or was this, it affected her differently?
Yeah. And I know it's triggering to hear, so trigger warning anyone, but as an identical twin, I always, even as a kid, realized that we both were there. We were both holding my mom's hand when it happened. My brother actually ran across the street and was hit by a car. So I've talked to my sister now, and basically the way I responded to that moment was going, I'm never going to let that happen again. I made a vow. I'm never going to let something like that happen again. So I became extremely hypervigilant, as if I could avoid and protect my family from experiencing a bad thing. My sister, on the other hand, has shared with me, she made a vow in that moment that said, well, if this happens to just a great person, this just happens to anyone for no reason, what is the point? Let me give up. So where I became hypervigilant and developed OCD, she became severely depressed and was actually medicated by, 8 years old. So it's just interesting that persona, even if you share the exact DNA, is going to internalize events differently. And that's why I find working with clients like so fascinating, because it doesn't matter how you were raised. We were raised by the same mom. We responded to the same trauma in the same way, saw the same thing at the same moment. And what we did with it and what our nervous system did with it was completely different.
That's amazing. And I think a really powerful thing for people to understand about trauma and about trauma in individuals. We all react and respond differently. And one is not more traumatized than the other. They're just different responses. So that's a brilliant example of the effects of a traumatic event, and a brilliant example of the importance of going back to the root causes of trauma, which I'm not sure if I want to dive down that rabbit trail right now.
Oh, we can.
We might wait, or So tell me, you've painted this picture, and so this followed you into high school. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can share how it totally upheavaled my life. And
please do.
Yeah.
Paint us a picture.
So yeah, there I was. I mean, small town New Jersey. It was a very conservative town. So getting into things like even meditation or yoga was considered quite strange. So, but my mom was grieving, and she didn't care what was strange. She just wanted relief. She wanted relief for her family. And she sought out, obviously, a therapist, social workers, but she kept reaching out, and she eventually found a Reiki Master in our area. And that was the first time that she felt like a release from that deep grief that any parent who's lost a child understands. And she finally felt a relief, like lying on the Reiki table. And by the time she found that, it was a few years later. It was 9. My parents had split up by then. So when she goes to Reiki, she has to bring her twins in tow because she's a single mom. So we went with her. So we'd sit and wait while she got Reiki'd, and we play with the crystals under the table. And then it would be my turn and my sister, playing under the table. And it was so transformative to my mom that she ended up going back to that Reiki Master and getting trained herself. And I watched my mom leave a career in production. She was a commercial producer, wearing heels, getting on planes, jet setting, to developing her own Reiki practice. And once again, Reiki training's long all weekend. And if it was her weekend, she'd bring us with her. So I actually went to my first Reiki training when I was 9, and would Reiki some of my open-minded friends by 10 years old, and bring my crystals in my bag for my presentations where I was anxious. So Reiki was a big part of my life, but a part of my life I had to hide. We had to tell our friends that it was a chiropractic or massage table in the basement. We could not tell anyone that it was a Reiki table.
Wow.
but I experienced a lot of relief from my own grief and from my anxiety, and what we called habits, my face washing, counting, clicking habits of OCD from Reiki. But it wasn't until I got a little older and found some other modalities that the OCD completely went away and really addressed what was going on in my brain, my traumatized brain. But Reiki was beautiful for addressing my energy body. But I'd say the mental patterns needed some more intense tools. Right.
Amazing. So that was a beautiful introduction to the subtle body, and experiencing, the healing power of relaxation.
It's being sensitive to energy. I remember my sister could see people's energy, and after the training, and just being sensitive to I feel anxious because this person has an anxious energy. So it made me really energetically sensitive at a young age.
Okay. All right. Which that's beautiful material we'll be talking about her experience as an empath too at some point. During our hour here. We've got all kinds of amazing setup going on. And so I also see that another powerful modality for you was yoga.
Yep. I had those.
When did that step in?
Who had Rodney cassette tapes? That's what I did. Really helped with my mindfulness. So yeah, that came in. My mom in 7th grade got me VHS tapes of yoga, and I would do that. And the, 15-30 minutes after a yoga class was like the first time I'd feel relaxed in my body and not feel like I needed to go for those like obsessive compulsions, because I'd quieted myself. So thank you, Mama Lynn, for that one once again.
Yeah. So 2 really powerful modalities in helping you learn how to regulate the nervous system. So we're getting ready to take a break. And this is such a great place to land this first segment here, because we've heard the story, and I know there's more. There has to be more. She experienced some amazing return to balance and assistance through Reiki and through her yoga practice. But there's more, and we're going to hear when we come back from our break her experience with EFT, and she talks about addressing the emotional aspects, the energetic aspects, but there were some neurological, yes, like just brain training.
All the spider-bite planners patterns.
Yeah.
Where EFT like really changed my life, and all started with a YouTube video.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to hear about this YouTube video and her experience with EFT when we come back. We look forward to seeing you in a few minutes.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Are you tired of feeling stuck? Are you suffering from a chronic illness, addiction issues, lack of motivation, a negative mindset, and a lack of purpose? Do you dream of a life full of purpose and the ability to respond rather than react? And what if you could see yourself through the eyes of compassion while you're in the process of creating the life of your dreams? It will be a process. Dreammakers is designed to empower transformation from being stuck and unsatisfied to a life that is moving forward with purpose and joy. You will get clear on your dreams and the limiting subconscious beliefs that block you from seeing them through. You will learn and be supported in implementing tools that develop the mind-body connection and rewire your brain for success and mastery. Dreammakers is a 12-week online course with weekly live Zoom meetings, a book and workbook, access to accountability, and group support. Spots are limited. Experts say that if a person could do one thing to increase health and happiness, expressing gratitude would be it. Gratitude is an easy, attainable way to improve your outlook and begin rewiring your brain for resilience. You will learn the clinically proven benefits of a gratitude practice, why and how gratitude works to rewire your brain for resilience, and most importantly, a simple but powerful way to amplify your gratitude practice that will benefit your mind and body while improving your outlook.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You're listening to Empowered Transformation with Christa Dawson. If you have questions or want to contact Christa, go to ChristaDawson.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. And we are here today with Jackie Viramontez. If you missed the first segment, she set the stage for us in having a better understanding of, or really appreciating the transformation that she has experienced in her life, having witnessed her brother die from an accident, and how it affected she and her twin sister very differently as a result of that event. Jackie experienced severe OCD side effects from trauma, and she is walking, talking proof that you don't have to be a slave to those experiences your entire life. She's living a deeper, richer, fuller, amazing life, doing amazing things. So thank you for joining us today, Jackie. And so we also learned that there were other modalities that assisted in moving you in the direction of healing, being yoga and Reiki. And then in walks energy psychology and EFT, which I'm going to let you, we touched on earlier in the first segment. You know, you had a very body-based tradition that you were working with the yoga. You had something that was helping you identify and work with your energy body through Reiki. But there was a piece that was needing a little more help, and I'm going to elaborate on, or I'm going to ask you to elaborate on that for us.
Yeah, I'd love to. And I'll just say, like, if that's a new term, like the subtle energy body, when you're doing yoga or when you're getting Reiki, you're really focused on the meridians or emotional trauma that's in your organs. So like, for instance, shock, which seeing an accident is shock, that can get stored in your bladder. So if I'm doing a stretch that's like running up the back of my legs, that's helping to open up the bladder meridian where I detox shock. So there's like amazing charts people can look up. But like the gallbladder is feeling alone. And I've had issues with gallbladder. So things like yoga, Reiki can help to detox those organs of the actual emotion. But even if if I had a lot of anger and frustration about my brother's death, which once I wrote a poem, I Hate You for Dying. So I definitely did. I can do a lot of work like twists in yoga to detox the anger from my liver, things like that. But even if you were to detox all that emotion and you didn't have any repressed emotional trauma in your physical body, your cellular body, you would still have these thought patterns like something bad could happen to me. Or even if I get rid of my anger, I could still have the belief that bad things happen to me, or I'm alone, or no one understands, or XYZ. I have to be perfect to be safe. So EFT came into my life when I felt like I had a lot of tools to like detox emotional trauma. Like if I felt heavy, I could go do yoga or go do Reiki or go meditate. But then the next day I would feel like I was back at square one with the same belief, like you're not enough, you're not safe, you're alone. So EFT is amazing because it actually works on your brain. And you can focus, like, as a practitioner, you could have someone focus on a limiting belief that they know holds them back, like I'm not enough. And with the tapping, while focusing on a time when you felt not enough, the tapping helps to take the emotional charge out of that belief so that if a belief pops up, you're not enough, it sounds like BS instead of sounding like this life-threatening truth. So that is where EFT like really changed it for me. Because a lot of my compulsions were thought-based. Like if you don't splash your face again, something bad will happen. It's like, let me tap a few rounds on that. And all of a sudden it sounds ridiculous. Why would I have to wash my face to keep my family safe? Which anyone with OCD knows the compulsions are totally not realistic and totally absurd. And anyone with OCD knows that their compulsions are absurd, but you can't help it because there's so much emotional charge and fear attached to belief. And that's why it's called emotional freedom technique, because you are releasing the emotion around a belief or around a pattern. So yeah, it was crucial in helping with my limiting beliefs that made my anxiety and depression worse than they needed to be.
So it really helped you address the limiting beliefs that you were really habitually thinking.
Exactly.
And that's really what is going on. The subconscious is a very powerful thing that likes to tell amazing stories. And the more we tell those stories, the bigger those neural pathways get, and then we're lost. And so this really helped to pause that, allow that, or lose traction. Those thoughts were losing traction.
Yeah.
So brilliant. I absolutely love that. And so that was the beginnings of, the big, where did you learn about it? It was a YouTube video?
Once again, my mom, I was at that point out of college. I'd really had to manage on thing, but I was teaching, very stressful job in an inner city. And she knew I was anxious. And she said, hey, I just saw this YouTube video. It's Margaret Lynch, tapping for anxiety. And it said like release anxiety in 5 minutes. I'm like, okay. So I pulled up the video and I tapped as I thought about like being observed the next day in the classroom, which was very nerve-wracking for me. And by the end of the little 5-minute video, I felt like, okay, someone's going to observe me. Who cares? Like suddenly all that anxious energy just dissipated. And it probably because I was so primed with all the other tools that EFT works so quickly for me. But it's been such an amazing tool. So yeah, one YouTube video. And then I'd cut to like 3 or 4 months later, I was flying across the country to a training, thinking I'd be helping the students in my classroom. And I just fell in love with working with other adults that have struggled and had childhood trauma that was manifesting as limitation in their career or personal life.
So this was the segue in then out of teaching and into becoming not only a practitioner, but a trainer. Yes,
exactly.
And
yep. Yeah.
I'm imagining that was all by itself an amazing process of unfolding for yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because
yeah, it was amazing to just like, I would ended up leaving the classroom tutoring. And then my tutoring clients, I would be like, you seem really like nervous about writing, or you can only sit still for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And we would tap and regulate their nervous system and they'd be able to sit for 45 minutes, or suddenly the math test didn't seem so daunting, or the feeling of inadequacy didn't seem so real. So I had parents who we would do half the time tutoring, half the time tapping, which was amazing. And that's how I really kind of switched careers, had a little bridge job there into my new thing.
So tell us a little bit about the training process, getting your initial certification. And then, I'm imagining it's just been over time adding on more advanced training. Are you still seeing people one-on-one, or are you focusing specifically on training?
I actually do see people one-on-one, and then I do train. So I like both for different reasons. So nice. a lot of my clients are practitioners and trainers who want sessions, but I do still work with the normal lay person. Nice. Yeah. And the training process, as you know, it's a lot of practice. So practicing on my students, you need 50 practice sessions, and you practice on your students, your friends, your family, your clients. I work with like a lot of yoga teachers or coaches, and they'll start integrating EFT into whatever their modality is, just to amplify the effects even more, because any goal setting career, whether like health or financial, has obstacles involved, where clients don't take action, they procrastinate. So, and over this course of 50 sessions, you make a lot of mistakes, but inevitably, like, you realize what a simple and powerful tool it is, that even when you're making some mistakes, you're giving people a tool for life, which is what I love about it. And why I pursued tapping once I found it, and not Reiki. I never thought I'd just be a Reiki practitioner. I wanted to go like have a normal job, and, but tapping I love because you're putting the power in your client's hands. It's not like which I love my Reiki practitioners, but my role in life is not to be like the guru people come to. Like, I want to be an equipper and give you a tool that you can use, or you can teach your family or your kids, so you don't have to feel like at the mercy of your emotions, which is how I felt most of my life. Right. So I'm like, oh, perfect.
Right. Or at the mercy of somebody else to help you maintain yourself,
exactly.
Your practitioners or therapists. So really empowering your clients to be their own healer. I love that. You have a heart for the empath. Talk to us about that.
Yes. Okay. Well, since I specialized for many years in anxiety, and I love making roadmaps for people. So, they come to me with anxiety socially, or financial anxiety, or fear of flying. And there's like about 7 things typically you could do to help someone, whether it's triggers or a past event when they learn to be anxious about that, or maybe something called secondary gain, where their body's protecting them. So what part of them's afraid to get over the anxiety? But as I worked with people, I realized that some of them were not necessarily anxious because of their body was dysregulated. They were anxious around certain people, or they were anxious in certain environments with certain people. So I'd like even ask everyone listening, like, are you really confident and at peace in one moment, and then the next moment really anxious? Maybe it's because you got triggered, but maybe it's because you're taking on the anxiety of someone else in the room. So I'd have certain clients where I'm like, is it just when that date sits down? Is it just when that one coworker, you're talking to them that you feel awkward? And I love working with empaths because I think it's so cool to teach them like the little mantra of that's theirs. That's their emotion, not mine. And I even invite everyone to do that. Like if you're feeling some kind of way right now, asking like, is this mine? And a lot of the empaths on the call will realize that they're carrying the emotions of someone else. Like, is this mine? No, it's that checkout person who seemed kind of angry and now I'm holding it. So I love working with empaths because they are the people who take on the emotions of others. They're sensitive to the emotions of others. And we're not taught in school how to identify our emotions from someone else's. So I really like doing that with my fellow empaths.
Mm-hmm. My community, we like to refer to that as energetic hygiene as well. Just really tuning into, and it's a brilliant question. Is this mine or is this yours? I don't have to carry yours.
Which is a big thing to say to someone because somewhere along the line, we think it's the most loving thing to do to carry emotions. And it's not.
Right.
It's not loving to carry someone's emotions. Let's talk about energetic messages. That's the energetic message of, I don't think you can deal with this on your own. Let me do it for you versus I believe in you. I trust you. You can carry this and I'll love you as you carry it. And I don't.
So good. I love that. So you've written how many books now?
Just one, but I have a manuscript that's just waiting to be published. And then I have an ebook that I just finished, Your Inner Child. So my first one's the relationship book. I can't believe I dated him. Kind of about toxic empaths.
Well, that was my question, is this work around learning to separate your stuff from somebody else's stuff. If that, where is there, do you have something there? Is that, and so that's in that book, or
I can't believe I dated him. It's the chapters are broken up into emotions. So you can really look at anger, insecurity, toxic empathy, insecurity, self-doubt. And each chapter is like really practical of like journaling questions to ask, tapping exercises to do, to like begin to look for like the root of that emotion. And the empathy chapter is like my favorite to point to for people who might be taking on the emotions of others unknowingly.
And that really speaks to learning how to, anyone on the healing journey, you learn how to use your life experiences to deepen your own sense of self and compassion. You learn how to use your emotions to help you define limiting beliefs that you hold or where you need to love yourself more. And so really speaking into working with all aspects of yourself to help support you through your healing journey. Powerful. So tell us about this, your inner child work.
Yeah, that's I just sent it off to the designer this morning before this call. Actually, it's my ebook on healing your inner child, and I just wrapped a workshop on it. But I think it's funny because when I went to that first workshop, I'm like, I'm going to learn EFT to work on kids. And then I'm like, I love working on adults because I just love the breakthrough. It's almost like kids are too easy. I don't get enough. Like I like when it's hard and we break
more of a challenge.
I want more of a challenge. It's too easy. They like release stuff in a second. But I realized, and I had a client tell me like, you do work with kids, you're working with everyone's inner child. And it was like one of those moments where you feel very on path. But I do believe that any pattern you're facing, whether it's procrastination or anger at a partner, trust issues, if you ask yourself, like, how old is this? It goes back to childhood. Childhood being, in the womb to 18 years old, even 20 years old at sometimes. And I really believe that any pattern you face at some point protected you. And we have to go and find that younger version of us who was being anxious to stay alive, was being a people pleaser to keep the peace at their house, was insert your pattern here. Like that was a survival strategy. So I love not just releasing the emotional charge around memories, like with EFT, but I love going back and talking to that inner child and like thanking them. Thanking them for keeping us alive in that way instead of judging the patterns. And as a healer, it's until we release all that shame and judgment that the pattern actually breaks. So I think until we go back and like honor, even I've given awards, drawn awards for our inner child and saying, thank you for being a people pleaser. You're a master, straight A people pleaser. That then the people pleasing patterns begin to dissolve. So that's how I think of inner child work. It's like, where did this start? How did it serve you? And how can we honor them before asking them to change? Because they're not going to change until you honor them, in my experience.
Really helps to shift off of the shame and judgment onto the compassion, which is absolutely imperative. And understanding that, you mentioned earlier, understanding that coping mechanisms that you have in place, whether it's addiction or anger or whatever that coping pattern might be, it is your subconscious's attempt to keep you alive. And so really understanding that you are always doing the best that you can. And the moment you can do better, you will. And you're going to have a lot more success doing better by meeting yourself with compassion. So really, really important message. Love that.
And it's the patterns that we're not willing to stop judging that are the ones that run our life the most.
Right.
So clients will say, wait, but I'm paying you to get rid of this. Like, I don't accept that younger version of me. It's like, great. That's where we're going to start. Like, tell them, like, I don't accept you. I judge you. You're ruining my life. Like, you are ruining my career. You're ruining my marriage, ruining my self-esteem, and kind of venting all of that judgment that we don't let ourselves feel. And then suddenly the tears come and they do feel compassion eventually.
Brilliant. I love it. So tell me, what do you do to support yourself in your day-to-day? What does your day-to-day process look like?
That's a good question. So many things, but one thing I think that has stuck is that I will try to check in every day. I'm like a big morning person. So really checking in with how I'm feeling, and then taking myself through, I can say the little process that I take. So I'll wake up and I'll do yoga, but I'm such a multitasker. I'll do yoga while I'm tapping, but I'll always check in, like, how am I feeling? And then if it's a feeling that's not supportive of me, I'll ask it, like, how old is this? So every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes, I'll connect with some kind of little Jackie and be like, what's going on? And it just helps to shift my day. So if I'm waking up feeling down, it's like, oh, how old are you? And sometimes it's a clear image of a memory. And sometimes it's just the sense like, oh, there's a part of me that's feeling kind of down today. I don't have to know what age. And I just ask it what it needs. And sometimes it's like, I need to take a break from yoga right now. I just need to like chill. Or maybe it's like, I need to reach out to a friend. And just asking, like, what do you need, for me has been empowering in moving from like, there's some feeling I don't like, to like, oh, there's some opportunity to voice my needs, set a boundary, cancel something if I need to. And then I move into empowered, which is like, well, what if I let that go? If I gave myself what I needed, what could I do today? What could I embody? What feeling would I have? So this morning I was telling you I felt super out of balance. I stopped nursing my son. So it's like, what do you need? I'm like, you need to be gentle with yourself. It's like, okay, if I was gentle with myself, how would I feel? It's like, I would feel enough, even though I'm not going to get anything on my to-do list done except this call today. I'll feel enough. And then I just spend some time in the yoga flow or in meditation, just cultivating that sense of an enoughness of what it would really feel like. So that's kind of my flow, some yoga and some little inner child convening. Nice.
I love that you are embodying what I love to call compassionate companionship with yourself. Really, which we can elaborate on in our next segment. We're going to land our plane for a few minutes, and we will come back and learn more about what Jackie's doing these days with trainings and where you can find her. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN. Experts say that if a person could do one thing to increase health and happiness, expressing gratitude would be it. Gratitude is an easy, attainable way to improve your outlook and begin rewiring your brain for resilience. You will learn the clinically proven benefits of a gratitude practice, why and how gratitude works to rewire your brain for resilience, and most importantly, a simple but powerful way to amplify your gratitude practice that will benefit your mind and body while improving your outlook. Are you tired of feeling stuck? Are you suffering from a chronic illness, addiction issues, lack of motivation, a negative mindset, and a lack of purpose? Do you dream of a life full of purpose and the ability to respond rather than react? And what if you could see yourself through the eyes of compassion while you're in the process of creating the life of your dreams? It will be a process. Dreammakers is designed to empower transformation from being stuck and unsatisfied to a life that is moving forward with purpose and joy. You will get clear on your dreams and the limiting subconscious beliefs that block you from seeing them through. You will learn and be supported in implementing tools that develop the mind-body connection and rewire your brain for success and mastery. Dreammakers is a 12-week online course with weekly live Zoom meetings, a book and workbook, access to accountability, and group support. Spots are limited.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You're listening to Empowered Transformation with Christa Dawson. If you have questions or want to contact Christa, go to ChristaDawson.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. We're in our last segment here of the third edition or third episode of Empowered Transformation with Jackie Viramontez. We learned her amazing transformation story from a struggling with trauma young lady, child, all the way into her teen years, and her introduction to her subtle body, her energy body through Reiki, and her embodied just amazing experiences with yoga, and then eventually leading to EFT, which helped to seal the work. And we're going to hear a little bit more about her latest favorite project around healing your inner child. So tell us more about that.
Totally. Yeah, as I said, I just sent off Heal Your Inner Child to get formatted and made pretty. But I do have to say, I said I transformed it. I have to let people know, I do not have OCD anymore. And people are probably wondering, wait, did she transform it? So those OCD patterns disappeared after EFT, which is not the case for everyone, but it was the case for me. So I can say that proudly. And anxiety now is not like an identity. Sometimes I'll have some anxious feelings, but they feel like, oh, my body feels threatened. Okay, let me use my tools. All right, now I'm back to feeling peaceful. So I just had to say that for anyone wondering.
I love that.
It's like they don't feel like an identity. But yes, one of the things where I was able to capture that is in this Heal Your Inner Child course that just wrapped. And what I love about it is a lot of us wait until we feel blocked or limited to do the healing work. What I like about this is it's really a proactive roadmap to healing. So I talked about needs before, really being attuned to what your body needs. And it's because you're not feeling that need that you feel anxious or angry, need for boundaries, you get angry, a need for rest, you feel overwhelmed. So we can wait for our body to confront us, or we can just go confront our body and inner child. So it's a proactive roadmap where it goes through each of the 12 core human needs. And it goes through the 5 stages of development from 0 to 21. And each stage of development has a need, which is awesome. When you're a little infant, you need to trust others, feed you, clothe you. So what happened? Did you have any significant life events before the age of 18 months? Like, did a parent leave? Was there a big transition or move? I work with a lot of like first gen clients where it's like, oh, my parents moved to the United States right after I was born. That's huge to have parents who are completely alone without a job. So it really walks you through what is the need at each stage. And then it gives you a tool, like a tapping exercise or prompts, as well as some juicy journal prompts to figure out like, how were my needs unmet through modeling or trauma? And then how can I retroactively reparent myself and meet the needs of my inner child? And I love it because like the data shows like when you go back and reparent, when you imagine a memory to your brain, it's just as real as a real memory. So literally from the ground up, you're like, what if I had a childhood where my needs were met? And that's what we're doing with reparenting. So that's what I'm really excited about. And if you even made a list of like, at what age did most of my biggest trials, traumas, transitions happen? You can usually, at least the people at my workshop, can see a direct parallel between what the need was at that time and what their struggles are now. So like that's,
Do you find that most people, when you ask them to, retrieve or think back to childhood, many people really struggle with remembering childhood experiences. Do you have any tips on that?
Totally. And that's just another one of the brain's like beautiful ways to protect us. It's like, why would I have you remember this awful time? So that it's super common with people with trauma. And if you don't have trauma, just know that even like a early birth where maybe you were separated from your mom or you're premature, that can put your body in a state of fight or flight, causing you to not really remember childhood as readily as someone who had that immediate skin to skin and like a regulated nervous system. So if anyone's like, I have no trauma, I have a great childhood, but I don't remember, think back to your birth story. But that said, some tips are, we've all been told stories of our childhood. So if you want to tap on a childhood memory, you don't have to remember it with your own mind. You can remember based on what you've been told or what you could guess or assume about your family of origin. So maybe you were adopted and no one has told you, but you can guess based on the culture or the place, what you think may have happened. And we've all heard the data that our memories are just as real as like the last time we remembered it. When we tap on our imagined memory or our guess or composite memory, it's just as effective biologically. Like the stress levels decrease just as effectively as if it was a real memory, verbatim, word for word. So I would say just guess based on what you do know and what you've been told, and just know that and trust that's really effective and really calming to your body. Yeah. Like I'll even have kids. I did an EFT for kids training. Instead of tapping on their own memory, I'd say, what's a movie or a character who you relate to or song lyrics that you relate to? And just talking about a movie that they relate to the character's struggles, it helps them because mirror neurons, our brain's going, oh, that's something I felt. And now I'm going to feel better about it now that I've tapped on it, even though I'm talking about someone else or reading song lyrics. Does that make sense? So it's really, if anything you do to regulate your nervous system is going to be good. So I would say just guess. It's just as effective.
Nice. I love that.
Oh, and that ebook, it's not out yet, but if people go to my website, it will be up as a little pop-up that they can get her in my shop. And the course is for people who really want to dive deep. They want to dive deep and like get the trainings, get demos, do tons of demos with people. So
nice. Is that, do you have a training? Have you decided on when that will happen yet?
The next training, I'm going to put it up soon, but yeah, if anyone wants to become a practitioner, they can just connect with me and we can start the mentorship props right away, and we can find a time for the workshop to start. So it's not on the calendar yet, but there's a place to train with me, get certified on my site that people can find.
Beautiful. Love it. So we're at the time in our hour where I'm going to invite Jackie to introduce to us one of her favorite tools that she likes to use with her clients and maybe even for herself.
Perfect. And you can find this audio. There's an audio and video version in my little membership portal. But yeah, let's do it. I call it my 3 phases: listening, letting go, embodying. So I'll just invite everyone to close their eyes if you can. And maybe there's an emotional pattern that you are wanting to shift, whether anxiety or frustration or resistance. And maybe even just put your hand on that part of you where you're feeling it, whether a tension or a buzzing or a constriction in the gut or throat. And begin to direct your breath into that space. Maybe breathing a wave of breath into that emotional space. And breathing a wave of breath out of that space. You can even place your hand on your heart now and begin to massage the sore spot. It's a neurolymphatic point. I'm just breathing in for 4 to that emotional space and out for 8. As you slow down the exhales, it slows down the nervous system, the fear body. So again, massaging that sore spot on the chest, breathing in for 4 and out for 8. Just asking this part of you, what do you need? What do you need right now? Maybe words or an image or just a sense or knowing comes up, just trusting it. What do you need? Breathing in for 4, just holding space, and out for 8. If you know the tapping points, you can begin to tap through them on the top of the head and inner eye. Or you can just stay on this sore spot. But I'll tap the top of the head and then inner eye and just ask, what would it look like to fill this need now? And outer eye. What would it feel like to fill this need now? Under the eye. What would it take? Under the nose. What would it sound like to let this go? Just calling back to that first emotion, that anxiety or frustration under the lip or tapping. What would it look like to let this emotion go? Collarbone. What would it sound like to let it go? And then under the arm, you can just stay there, maybe just holding the body like you're giving yourself a hug. Feeling your fingers on the ribs. Yeah. How would you feel if you fully let this pattern go? Not to force it away, just to ponder a new reality. How would I feel? Who would I be? What would I do first? And begin to see or sense that now. You can begin to apply pressure on the ribs, maybe even left, right, as you see or sense what it would be like to finally let that go. And when this closes, you can take as much time as you need to envision that reality, journal that reality, but you just turned an emotional pattern into an opportunity to go, who would I be? What would I do first if I let this go? So thank you for joining me in that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jackie. So can you tell us where we can find you?
You can find me at Jackie Viramontez, VIRA.com, but practicemakespeace.com is easier to spell. Find me there. I have a free meditation that pops up, tapping meditation that you can use for daily use, and on Instagram at Jackie Viramontez or Practice Makes Peace. You can find me on Instagram.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jackie. You can find me at ChristaDawson.com, on Facebook at Christa Dawson, Energy Psychology Practitioner, and now LinkedIn. I look forward to our next visit. Thank you again so much, Jackie, for joining us and sharing your wisdom with us. We'll see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Empowered Transformation with Christa Dawson. We hope you have gained insight into the healing process and added tools to your tool belt. Until we talk again, have a beautiful week.